Welcome back to
Girls Guide to Germany.
Today's episode is about
Entrepreneurship in Germany.
This topic is definitely not an easy one, but before we get into it, we just want to tell you a little bit about this podcast. Maybe it's your first time listening. Girls Guide to Germany started from an idea which Christy and I have. We are both admins for BBA Community, which is Germany's largest community for ambitious international women. And we thought, we have so many questions in our WhatsApp group chats. Why don't we address them on a podcast? So that's why we started it. So let's get into this amazing topic, but first, let's have a little cup of tea.
Let's have a little cup of tea.
Oh my god.
ASMR.
So we have again yogi tea today, hashtag not sponsored. And it says, ein friedlicher Geist ist stark. Like a free feeling. Geist is a ghost.
Yeah, I was like, isn't Geist ghost? It's very Halloween spooky for me. I don't know. Stark is strong.
A free soul. I think Geist is also soul.
Okay. A free soul is strong.
Okay.
Or a free ghost is strong.
A free ghost is strong. So cheers.
Cheers.
Let's drink that.
We wanted to talk about entrepreneurship in Germany since we are both entrepreneurs and we have different experiences, we have different businesses set up, different histories with this concept, but I'm sure every business is different. So we'd love to hear about your experiences with entrepreneurship in Germany. First, let's talk about Hannah's experience starting a business here. How did that go for you?
Yeah, so I've been in Germany for 10 years and I didn't have a business the whole time. I always dreamed about, wow, would I have a business? What would my business do? I was employed in the corporate world as an event marketing manager for many years. And then when the pandemic hit and my TikTok fame came to be and people wanted to work with me and give me money to make videos, which was super cool, I was like, okay, I need to start a business. But there was a huge blocker in the way, and this is going to be a blocker for many people listening to this episode, is that to start a business in Germany, you need allowance from the immigration office, the lovely Auslandsbehörde, to start a business. Not everyone has this allowance. If you're here on a basic residence permit for a company, you came here for a job, or you got your visa because of a job, it probably says in your residence permit, Gewerbe is not allowed, like you're not allowed to start your own business. Mine now says it is allowed, so first check this, and if it says it's not allowed, you have a problem. And this is not an easy problem to fix. But once you get your Niederlassungserlaubnis, which I have now, which is like your permanent residency in Germany, this goes away and you're allowed to start a business.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even know any of those things because the visa that I came on actually did allow me to have a business, and I already had a business from the US. So I also had a different process because I was basically just translating what does my business look like here, what does it mean, how can I register here to start getting some clients here while also maybe maintaining some of my clients in the US.
Well, you're very lucky because people who are not on this type of visa, I think if you're coming with a partner visa, these things, or if you're married already, those kind of things are way easier. But if you're not and you have a regular visa that's not attached to your business, or some people come to Germany as freelancers and they apply for a visa as a freelancer, then they get the visa to be a freelancer, but it's not automatically allowed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was quite surprised at how, there are some difficulties to being an entrepreneur here, especially coming from the US, which is such an entrepreneur-friendly country. You can pretty easily set up a new business, set up an LLC, which is what I have in the US. And here, you would think, since it's such an economic powerhouse of a country, you would think that entrepreneurship is a big topic here or that it's quite easy to set up, but it's not really that easy. Well, there's always bureaucracy to set up a business anywhere, but
it's
maybe
German,
a little more.
So
Yeah,
it's harder. And there's a lot of things that you don't know and things you find out on the way. Let's start with the different types of businesses you can start in Germany. And just disclaimer, we are not business experts in any way, shape, or form, or consultants. This is just very limited advice. We're giving you a very basic overview. We'll just tell you from what we know, what we experience. And if you're a business consultant and you do have some tips for any of the stuff we talk about, please write it below in the comment section.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up and we can have you featured in our episode.
All right, so types of businesses. I have a Einzelunternehmen, which translates in English to sole proprietorship. This is kind of like in many countries business status. That means everything I earn is my own to keep. I don't keep it in a business and pay myself a salary from it. Every single dollar I earn, I get my income tax taxed on. So it's under the same umbrella. It doesn't matter where I spend the money. If I spend money from my personal bank account or my business bank account, or I pay someone in cash, I just have an accounting system and I put everything in there. And at the end of the year, how much money I make is how much my income tax is going to be. This is not always recommended. If you're making over 100K a year, I would say this is probably not that good because your tax is just going to be so high. I'm not quite there yet, so I'm still doing this, but it's something I'm considering to not do in the future and change my company into something different. Christy is also an Einzelunternehmer, but there's two things different about our businesses.
I'm a freelancer. I do graphic design services and branding services, and so I'm eligible to be a freelancer. However, if I sold physical products or digital products even, then you would need a Gewerbe.
A Gewerbe, which translates to a trade business. I do a lot of freelancing, but with my business, I do freelancing plus I sell ad placements on my Instagram. I first thought it was freelance because I'm freelancing and making a video for a brand. But actually, if you were consider my Instagram page like a magazine and I'm selling someone a placement on the magazine, they're buying that, that's like a trade thing. So you have to be really careful with this because I think many people don't even realize they're actually Gewerbe and they think they're a freelancer. Also, we sell tickets to our events, which is under my company. This is also trade. So I have to be a Gewerbe, unfortunately. And with Gewerbe comes Gewerbesteuer, trade tax, which is on top of your normal income tax. And this is more money to pay to the government. But Kirsty doesn't have to pay that.
Well, I have to pay other things.
But other taxes. But
in order to set up a Gewerbe, you needed to have some specific permit.
In some cases, yes. So if you were having like a cafe or something like this, yes, you need a permit. For my case, I had to register as a media company and buy like a membership to like a media union, and I pay this yearly, but that's about it.
Aside from a Gewerbe or a freelancer, if you looked into starting a business in Germany, maybe you've heard about the GmbH. So that's a pretty typical standard business here. However, I was surprised to find out that you have to have 25,000 euros in capital in order to set up that business. That would have worked for me if I were to transfer some of those funds that I have in the US over to Germany, but I didn't necessarily want to do that since I still have some clients in the US and I still have a business in the US. And so I'm kind of in a transitional phase. So it didn't really make sense for me at the moment, but if I get more clients here in Germany, then maybe I will switch over into a GmbH.
Yeah, and the one thing to note about GmbH is that this is actually a company. So all the money and everything you're doing is a company, and it has different liability than having everything go under your own name. So you would be paying yourself a salary from your company every single month. So this can be really good if you have big business to make. And it's not all going under your own income tax bracket.
Right. So you personally are not liable. The business is liable, which can be beneficial in a lot of ways.
Exactly. And then we also have an UG, which is less liability, a lot cheaper to set up. I don't know much about this and what's different than a GmbH, but this is another route to go. And I think something like this is only around 2,000 euros to create, approximately. And then you have other things like a GbR, which is similar to an Einzelunternehmen, but it's like a partnership. So you'd have like 2 or 3 people making a business together, but it's still all under your own income tax thing. So it's still not a separate company. But we're just staying with the easiest option, which is an Einzelunternehmen for now. And that's probably what we're going to talk about the most today, how we set that up.
So how did you set it up, Hannah?
Setting up a business in Germany is easier than you think if you have the visa allowance. There's many online software which you can set it up with. There's ones in English and German. Many different systems allow you to set up the business online, and it's actually also in a bookkeeping software, which is great. You can do it over Get Sorted, Accountable. I think there's LexOffice. First, you go to the website, you put in your details, and you put in what your business is about. There's this lengthy form, how much money you expect your business to make, what's your business doing, questions, address, and then after you fill in this very lengthy form, you'll get a letter from the Finanzamt, the tax department, saying if it worked or not, and they'll give you your Steuernummer, your tax ID.
So that's exactly how I did it. I did it through Hannah's recommendation or a recommendation from somebody in the BBA. And basically it was an online form. It was in English, so it was actually super easy to set up. I just followed the instructions. I learned step by step what my business qualified as. So if you're not sure, just start one of these forms and then it will slowly make sense. And then I got in the mail my freelance information. And so now I have my number to use as a freelancer here. And from the costs that are associated with setting up your business here, you also have to factor in some other things that maybe some people don't really account for. For example, your insurance, like your health insurance, will double probably because, I was not working at a German company before switching. So in my case, I came in and that was just what I was paying. But for other people who are first having an employer pay for half of your insurance, then when you become self-employed, then you have to pay for your entire insurance. So that might be a surprise, and you should definitely account for that before making the switch.
Exactly. So I was in the corporate world for many years. So my employer was always paying 50% of my insurance. That's my health insurance and my pension fund. Also my Arbeitslosengeld, where you lose your job. But when I became self-employed, you have to pay all these things by yourself. Some are not obligatory, like your pension or the job loss insurance. Those you don't have to pay being self-employed because it's not always necessary, especially if you take out a private pension. But the health insurance is necessary. And if you are making over 60,000 euros in Germany, you are paying, whether it's your employer paying half or yourself paying the half, you are paying around 1,000 euros per month. And you don't see this because your employer pays half, around 500 euros, depending what insurance level you have. And you set yourself off your income tax slip, also pay that money. So guess who's paying that money when you're self-employed? You! Health insurance is not free in Germany, but you see definitely how not free it is when you're self-employed because it's coming out of your bank account every single month. For me, it's around 1,000 euros every single month because my income is above average, not going to lie. But if your income is below 60K, it's a little bit less for each threshold, but still it's a minimum 200.
Going to be something that you want to factor in because you gotta make sure that it's worth it and that you really love what you're doing in order to be an entrepreneur in Germany.
And that goes into when you're making your rates and you're freelancing and stuff, you have to factor all these things in because if you get a job as a event manager in a company, maybe after you take everything, your hourly rates maybe like $25 an hour, $30 an hour with your salary, but actually you may need to double or triple this to be a freelancer because you have to pay for everything yourself, and this is just kind of normal. So my freelancing rate is between 70 to 100. Well, in a company I'd probably be paid $30 an hour. So,
and you also have to factor in VAT.
VAT, exactly. So VAT is on top of you have to factor it into your prices. If you're a B2B company, it doesn't matter so much because VAT is deducted from businesses. But if you are a B2C, to a consumer company, you have to give 19% of your revenue to the Steueramt and tax people every single month. So this is something that people kind of forget about, and they think, oh, I sold a t-shirt for 15 euros and I get to keep 15 euros. No, you're keeping like 7 or less. And it can be really sad. So if you haven't factored this in and you don't put it in an extra savings account, you may have big problems.
Yeah, you definitely want to factor into that margin, the taxes that you're going to owe and the VAT. So what about having a team here in Germany? So we are both self-employed, right? We are basically single owner businesses, but we do sometimes hire other people to help us out. So you can still hire contractors, even if you don't have them as full-time employees.
And this is actually something easier because when you're trying to hire people in Germany, I have not even gone down this road yet to actually give someone a contract, pay someone their social security and everything. It can be really complicated. And as a small business owner, if you hire someone, they have certain rights. And in Germany, it's not that easy to let people go. It's actually very hard. So these kind of things you have to take into account. Everyone I work with, I contract out. Like Christy helps me with things, I contract her. My other friends help me with things, I contract her. Of course, it would be amazing one day to have a GmbH and we all get to have a business together. But this needs a little bit more of time. And it's really, really important to have an accountant that can help you with these things or someone who knows things, because you'll receive a lot of letters in the mail that look really scary. I'm sure they're not, but It's better to have someone professional with these things. An accountant is very expensive. I think also in the US they're expensive. These kind of things are going to stop you from getting into trouble later. Because if you're not doing your taxes correctly, the finance amp, they'll find you. They can even close down your bank account if you're not doing it right. If you owe them money and you don't give it to them, it's not just carry on. There's repercussions. And if you don't have an accountant telling you what you've done wrong, then it can actually be really costly later. Like if you get audited and you don't have your books in order, this is going to be a headache.
Of course, these things matter anywhere if you are starting a business in your own country or in a different country, but especially in a different country, if you're not so familiar with the language and the culture and the law, then you definitely want to hire out some help for that to make sure that you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
As an American, I have to worry about doing taxes in the States as well forever, unfortunately. Yeah. It's one of the few places where you have to do that. So I still have to file my taxes in the US, even though I might not owe taxes in the US. And we'll go over this in another episode where we'll talk more about finance. But
just an FYI.
An FYI, I do have to file in the US and also in Germany. So that is another reason why my taxes are very complicated. So as a business owner, as a foreigner here, like there's just a million reasons for hiring an expert that can help me with this kind of thing.
Definitely. And also we have to remember you're in another country and your business is probably an English speaking business, and this can be something really competitive because there's maybe not a lot of people who are freelancers that are native English speakers or whatever your native language is. This can also be an advantage, but it also can make things very hard because there may be a limited amount of clients that want that special service. Like for instance, Christy has her design company and she has from New York style, which is different than maybe what German people want, but it is niche here and some people want that.
Yeah, I think it actually is an asset here. Yeah. A lot of people find a lot of value that my background comes from New York experience. And thankfully, design is not something that's very language specific. It's, visual language. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit more universal. So I'm very, very lucky with that. I know that some people that are copywriters, for example, it can also be an asset, but it could also be harder to find clients sometimes.
Exactly. So I'm also a freelance event manager, and luckily I have a lot of clients in the tech world, and tech is very English. But if I wanted to work, outside of the tech world in some more German companies, they'd probably want a freelancer who can speak fluent German, business level German, which I can probably get by, but it wouldn't be so fun for me.
And for some industries, you are required to have a certain language level.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing is that being a freelancer, they can cut you at any time. In Germany, when you're in the corporate world, you have a lot of security behind you. It's really hard to fire you. You get the job loss insurance, but as a freelancer, you don't. And this is also an advantage because some people think, oh, that's easy. I get you on my team, sign a contract in, give you a high hourly rate. But also something to think of is that you need to save more of your income every single month for that in the case that it doesn't work out the next month.
Right. But some of the benefits of being entrepreneurs here in Germany.
I mean, I have a lot of free time and I can go home whenever I want to Canada. I had 30 days holiday in my corporate job and this was a lot, but it was never enough. And now I feel like if I just want to jump home for a month, of course my income will dip because I won't be freelancing as much. Still, there's no one waiting for me to come back. And this has given me some kind of freedom feeling, which has been great.
Yeah. And for me, since I'm still working a lot with US-based clients, it actually works really well for my schedule. I absolutely love that I get to just wake up, have all of my morning to myself. So I can go to the gym, I can go get groceries, I can do whatever I want during the day, prepare, maybe do some design work as well. And then later in the evening or in the later afternoon and evening, I have my calls with my clients and I can present work, and it works really well for me.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Some people need the 9 to 5. They need that structure. But if you're someone who doesn't need a lot of structure and you're just happy going with the flow and every day maybe a surprise, then freelancing, having your own business may be the right choice.
Yeah. I have ADHD, so I absolutely thrive in not having the same schedule every single day and having something different. And meeting up with Hannah is, really
We're
awesome.
actually neighbors, so... Yeah, and I think that concludes our podcast. This was just a general overview of starting a business. There's probably a lot more we didn't talk about bureaucracy-wise, but this is kind of the steps that it worked for us. We hope that it was
informative.
We hope that it was informative for you.
And we hope that we didn't scare you too much into starting a business in Germany, because obviously we both did it. We both think that it's worth it. We love having our businesses here. We love working as entrepreneurs in Germany. So don't let it scare you. It's just, some factors that you might want to account for.
Exactly. And if you are an entrepreneur or an ambitious woman or a career-driven woman in Germany, or just want to be around women with really good vibes, that's why we started BBA Community. So please join. You can go to bbacommunity.com and get access to our WhatsApp groups, where we have a whole sub-chat for self-employed girlies in Germany. And the questions in there, people are always so happy to answer. And that's what inspired this podcast. So we hope to see you in the group chat.
If you want to follow along, make sure to follow on Instagram at BBA Community _. And if you want to follow Hannah,
at Hannah Teslin, and Christy,
at Christy Hado.
We'll see you at the next episode.
Bye!